Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, January 12th, 2018, coming to you from a farm in Missouri. I'll talk to you about the wacky weather and the crop situation here, but my lead story is not something you're going to be familiar with, because the mainstream media has given this a big pass, and it's this right here. China weighs slowing or halting purchases of U.S. treasuries. And folks, please note, this is Bloomberg News. This is not some crazy left, well, they're out left, but they're not some crazy news organization, some internet fake news thing. They actually have people talking about this on site. This is not just a small little mention somewhere. Now, what the mainstream press has done is either ignore it or tap it down like it wasn't really a story. They misrepresented it. And I tell you, as soon as I saw this, I thought, wow, what a story. It's unbelievable. They ought to be all over this. You know that Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, who is totally qualified to talk all about this. They had him in a press conference on Thursday. Not a word. Nobody asked a word about it. I talked to Gregory Mannarino about it. I said, Mannarino, what's your take on this? He says, they're weaponizing the markets. The China is sending a political message, even though they're trying to tamp it down, says Gregory Mannarino at TradersChoice.net, my friend, and also a professional trader at TradersChoice.net, a site he founded. He says they're trying to tamp down this story, but the real deal is it's China sending a message to the Trump administration. Hey, we're supporting your markets. We're supporting the Treasury markets. We're the biggest buyer of Treasury bills. Your debt, China's the biggest buyer of U.S. debt. If you want all this to continue, then you need to step in line. And Mannarino is saying, China is basically saying, you're the U.S. China is the U.S.'s master. And then what do we have? We have some ovations, or some tweets, some information out of the White House, I should say, about how Donald Trump is open to diplomacy with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Now listen, China does not want us dropping nukes or tactical nukes on their border, but I don't think Donald Trump is going to take this threat of stopping buying of our debt, which would skyrocket interest rates. I don't think he's going to take that lightly. Paul Craig Roberts told me in an on-camera interview one time that if China ever stopped buying our debts, it'd be the end of America. There'd be major life changes here in America. There'd be no more free stuff with printed money. The dollar took a pounding today. It was off 0.5% in a day. It's down, below 91 on the U.S. dollar index. Now, it was, just to let you know, it was 103 on the U.S. dollar index as of, I think, January 3rd of 2017. So here, a little more than a year later, it's off pretty significantly. And Mannarino also told me, he says, every time the dollar tries to walk its way up, it gets beat down. I think the Trump administration wants a weaker dollar, but just unbelievable, this story that Bloomberg reported China basically slowing or halting purchases of U.S. treasuries. Not a word to Steve Mnuchin in the press conference about, hey, Secretary Mnuchin, what about China, the story out of Bloomberg that China is slowing or halting purchases of U.S. debt? What do you think about that? Nothing on that. Of course, the Treasury Secretary was named in his executive order, Donald Trump's executive order, on the 21st of December 2017. You think maybe there might be a question about that. What they're asking, Donald Trump's rich friends are going to Davos. How does that represent the little man, the comment? Yeah, it'd be stupid. I mean, just one stupid thing after another. It's like the Golden Globes, and I may just divert into this just for a second. Oprah for president. I mean, Seal is out now. The singer Seal is out now saying, she was somebody that helped hide this whole thing. She was enabler of Harvey Weinstein. They had business dealings together. Also, Oprah never said anything about Bill, the alleged rapist of multiple women. And a guy that committed sexual misconduct and actually lost his law license for it with the Paula Jones thing. But I'll tell you, this thing with China is a big deal. And the next war that we see, according to my friend Greg Mannarino, he says, you watch, we're going to heat up a financial war. Also, the big names like at Blackstone are saying we can't get around a 10 to 15% correction in the stock market in 2018. The problem with that is, how do you stop that runaway train once it gets going? Can you stop it at a 10 or 15% correction? Is it a 30 or 40% correction? I don't know. Walmart is out with good news and bad news. The good news is they're raising their minimum wage from $9 to $11 an hour, about a 12% raise, giving people a $1,000 bonus. The bad news is they abruptly closed a lot of Sam's stores, which they compete directly with Costco, which is a tough competitor. A lot of people showed up to Sam's stores saying that, hey, they just closed the doors. Now, they say some of those stores are going to end up being e-commerce stores and things like that, but still, you also have a lot of Sears stores closing down. They're having trouble. Retail is not doing great, at least bricks and mortar retail, and it's not all going to Amazon, which, by the way, Donald Trump is talking about having an internet tax, and one of the main people that will be affected by it is Amazon because they sell so much over the internet. One of the things that was brought up in the press conference with Steve Mnuchin was that they're going to have more sanctions on Iran. Now they're talking about this, what they call it, the JCPOA. That's the deal. I call it the no deal deal because nothing was signed to give pallets of money to Iran and $150 billion of their money back. There was no deal. I don't understand why they're even calling this a deal. It's a capitulation. It's a wink. It's a nod. It's a cash in. It's not a deal. There's really no deal whatsoever with this thing. Sorry, folks. It's raining. I want to get this done. So expect more fireworks over Iran. And I think with Mnuchin, he was asked, are there going to be more sanctions? He said yes. They're supposed to certify this deal, this no-deal deal, the no-signature deal, and that's a fact. You can look it up. Mike Pompeo, when he was a congressman, asked the Kerry State Department if there's anything signed, and of course they said no, nothing's been signed. That's actually a statement of fact, not what I think, and it's on record. So expect more fireworks, and even Iran said all options are open. I don't know if they're going to close down the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know if they're going to attack our bases in the Persian Gulf. I don't know if they're going to have terror. I don't know what they're going to do. But Iran is not happy about this, and Mnuchin is saying there are definitely going to be more sanctions on Iran. So I can't see how they certify that deal. If they're going to sanction them more, then they're not going to certify that deal. Some good news with Julian Assange. He's apparently been given an Ecuadorian passport, which means he can travel on that passport. I don't know how he's going to get out of the embassy over there. Maybe the Trump administration has worked out a deal with Theresa May and the UK. I don't know. But he's going to be, good things are going to be happening for Julian Assange. And I think he is going to be helping the Trump administration. There's going to be more announcements about Assange. There's probably going to be a deal worked out, according to my sources, about all that. And I do want to just end up with the Treasury bond. The Treasury market has been at 2.2% for the longest time, and now it's shot up to 2.537%. Now, it ain't been there in a long time, 2.537%. And therein lies the problem. And I've said this before. The good news is Trump's going to be successful. The bad news is Trump's going to be successful. He's going to rev up the economy. It's going to cause inflation to creep in. It's going to cause bond prices to move upward. Bond prices to go down. Interest rates up. And there's a lot of debt out there, folks. There's a lot of debt out there. We gained, 70-some-odd trillion dollars from 2008, the meltdown there, which was basically we had a meltdown because we had a credit crisis, we had a debt problem, we fixed the debt problem by adding another 70 trillion to the global debt market. There's going to be a repricing, folks. Listen, I want Donald Trump to be successful. I think he's going to be successful. I think that because he's successful, it's going to move things up pretty significantly in the bond market in terms of interest rates, and that's when you got to really watch out. And you're seeing that right now with the 10-year Treasury at 2.57%. Not long ago, it was 2.2%, which is a big move in the Treasury market. We're talking about billions, if not trillions, of dollars. And the reason why the Treasury market is so important is because if you got $1 billion, this is according to Martin Armstrong. You can't put it in a bank and they say, here, Mr. Smith, here's your $250,000 worth of insurance. You say, well, I've got $1 billion. I can't have that. That's what the full faith and credit of the bond market, of the Treasury market is all about. People with big money. So if we have a credit freeze, we have a haircut, people with big money are going to take a hit. That's what didn't happen the last time, what should have happened the last time. People with big money are going to take a hit. Now I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on out here in the Midwest. And boy, wild, crazy temperatures. I have a friend of mine on the on the East Coast. It got down to 9 degrees. Meanwhile, the other night, it got 57 degrees at like 10 o'clock at night. 57 degrees, January 10th. 57 degrees. This morning, I opened up this morning, and it was 50 degrees this morning. 50 degrees. It was here. Just a few hours ago. And within about 2 or 3 hours, it goes down to, where are we at? We're talking about 28, 30? It's 25. I mean, the temperature is just... And my friend Dane Wigington at geoengineeringwatch.org is saying, listen, all this crazy weather is happening because of all this geoengineering and weather whiplash. That's what he calls it. These weather whiplash is crazy. High and low temperatures is absolutely crazy. And this year the farming community in the Midwest did pretty well. On average, I'd say it's about a C+ harvest. But still, there's parts of the Midwest, especially around here in Missouri, the lakes are down 4 or 5 feet from the overflow pipes. There's been a really difficult times in terms of weather. The temperatures a few weeks ago were in the minus temperatures, and then a couple of weeks later here, just the other night in Missouri, I mean, it was at 57 degrees at 10 o'clock at night in January. I mean, crazy. Just wanted to let you know that. That the weather is unusual, and according to Dane Wigington at Geoengineering Watch, he says this is going to continue. It's going to get worse, not better, and you're going to see these wild temperatures, where it's colder in Florida than it is in Alaska. That really happened. Actually, he told me that on the phone. That was one time this last week. Anyway, thank you for supporting USA Watchdog. I just want to show you one little thing that I got for Christmas, and it's this light. I don't know if you can see this. It's got a couple of little lights in here like this, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. I sent them out to my friends. I found it at Lowe's. It was pretty reasonable. You turn the thing on, and you can look, and you have lights in your hat, and it's a pretty nice hat too. It's like $15. But anyway, thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com. Really appreciate it with your comments and also your donations. That helps us out. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog, and remember, no matter what, don't let these guys steal your chi, steal your confidence. They want you to be fearful. Don't be fearful. Just be informed. Fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Fear not. God the Father and the Son, Jesus Christ, are firmly in control. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com.